10 funny things Americans always do when visiting the UK. Travel always reveals our quirks, and nowhere is this more obvious than when Americans set foot in Britain. The two countries may share a language, but the subtle cultural differences lead to endless laughs. From asking for restrooms to snapping selfies in old red phone boxes, the things Americans do in the UK are as funny as they are heartwarming. In this video, we'll explore 10 funny things Americans always do when visiting the UK, proving that sometimes it's the little misunderstandings that make travel unforgettable. 10. Ask where the restroom is. One of the first linguistic giveaways of an American visitor in the UK comes when they ask for the restroom to British ears. The word sounds unusual, almost old-fashioned, and definitely foreign. In Britain, you ask for the toilet, loo, or gents and ladies. In older establishments, you might even see WC for water closet on signs. The funniest part is the reaction. A polite British waiter will still understand and point you in the right direction. But locals sometimes share a quiet smile. Some Americans catch on quickly and try swapping in loo, which can sound adorably awkward at first. It's a harmless cultural difference, but one that never fails to amuse both sides. 9. Try to mimic the accent. Americans love British accents, so much so that many can't resist trying them out once they arrive. Whether it's a mock-posh, cheerio, old chap, or a cheeky attempt at Cockney slang, tourists often dive in with enthusiasm. The only problem? Very few get it right. Britain isn't just one accent, it's dozens. London alone has variations, while Scouse in Liverpool, Geordie in Newcastle, and Glaswegian in Scotland can stump even locals from other regions. So when an American proudly unveils their best British impression, it usually blends stereotypes, TV characters, and a touch of Hollywood. Locals may chuckle, but they also secretly enjoy the effort. After all, it shows genuine interest in the culture. 8. Get excited about double-decker buses. Few things scream London more than the famous red double-decker bus. To locals, they're simply a way to get to work or school. But to Americans, hopping on one feels like starring in a movie. The old route masters with their open rear platforms are long gone from daily routes, replaced by sleek, modern hybrids and electric models. Still, tourists rush upstairs, eager to grab the very front seats for panoramic views. Whether it's gliding past Buckingham Palace or crossing Tower Bridge, the ride feels iconic. What makes it funny is the contrast. Commuters glued to their phones while wide-eyed Americans marvel at every turn. Their excitement often reminds locals how special these buses truly are. 7. Stand on the left side of the escalator. Every Londoner knows the golden rule of the Underground. Stand on the right, walk on the left. This simple etiquette keeps stations running smoothly during rush hour. But for first-time visitors, especially Americans unfamiliar with the custom, the mistake is almost guaranteed. Picture the scene. A tourist with luggage stands confidently on the left, blocking the flow of impatient commuters marching up the escalator. Within seconds, sighs and muttered "excuse me's" build up. Sometimes an announcement even comes over the loudspeaker reminding passengers to stand to the right. Once Americans realize their error, most laugh it off and quickly adapt. Still, the cultural mix-up creates some of the most memorable and mildly embarrassing travel moments in London. 6. Confuse chips and fries. Food terminology is a minefield for visitors, and nowhere is it funnier than with chips and fries. In the UK, chips are what Americans call fries, usually thick-cut. Crisps are what Americans call potato chips, sold in bags. So when an American confidently orders fries, they're met with puzzled looks before being served chips. The reverse is equally amusing in supermarkets, where Americans pick up a bag labelled crisps and expect something different. The confusion usually ends in laughter, and sometimes in delight, as many Americans admit British chips are chunkier and more satisfying than their US counterparts. By the end of their trip, most adopt the British terms, proudly ordering fish and chips without missing a beat. 5. Take photos of red phone boxes. Smartphones may have replaced public phones, but Britain's red phone boxes remain a symbol of the nation. Designed in the 1930s, these booths have become iconic landmarks. Today, many have been repurposed into mini libraries, defibrillator stations, or Wi-Fi hotspots. For Americans, though, they're irresistible. Tourists line up to take photos, leaning against the door, pretending to make a call, or even squeezing in groups for a selfie. To Brits, it can look a bit silly, but it's also a reminder of how strongly these booths represent the UK abroad. What makes it especially funny is that locals rarely give them a second glance, while Americans treat them like national treasures. 4. Order tap water like it's a delicacy. In the US, attitudes toward tap water vary by region. Some states boast fresh, clean supplies, while others rely heavily on bottled water. So when Americans sit down at a British restaurant, they sometimes ask nervously, "Is the tap water safe to drink?" The answer is yes, absolutely. UK tap water meets strict safety standards and is perfectly drinkable across the country. Still, the cautious way Americans phrase the request often makes locals smile. Some even act surprised, treating tap water like a special menu item rather than the everyday standard. It's a small moment, but one that highlights how different everyday assumptions can be from country to country. 3. Expect free refills everywhere. This one trips up many American tourists. In the US, free refills are a given at most casual restaurants. You order a soda and it's topped up again and again at no extra charge. But in the UK, things work differently. Here, every glass is priced individually, unless you're at certain chains like Nando's, Pizza Hut, or Five Guys. So when an American cheerfully asks for a refill and then looks shocked to see it added to the bill, the confusion sets in. For locals, it's a non-issue. They've never expected endless drinks. But for Americans, adjusting to the one glass, one price system can be a surprisingly funny culture shock. 2. Rave about how old everything is. One of the most charming quirks of American visitors is their awe at Britain's history. Walk into a pub that's been operating since the 1600s, and Americans practically gasp. Tour a medieval cathedral or an 11th century castle, and the amazement is written all over their faces. For Brits, who grow up surrounded by this history, it's simply part of the landscape. They stroll past Tudor houses, Victorian railway stations, and Georgian squares without much thought. But American enthusiasm is contagious. Their excitement makes locals pause and appreciate the centuries of heritage they often take for granted. It's funny and endearing at the same time. A reminder that what feels ordinary in one place can be extraordinary to another. 1. Say soccer instead of football. Perhaps the funniest and most recognisable quirk is the American insistence on soccer. In the UK, the sport is called football, full stop. But Americans, to distinguish it from American football, stick with soccer. What makes this truly ironic is its history. The term soccer was actually coined in Britain in the late 19th century, derived from association football. Over time, Brits dropped the word while Americans kept it alive. So when a tourist says soccer and gets mock gasps from locals, the joke's on both sides. For Brits, correcting an American on this point is practically a national sport. For Americans, it's a habit they just can't shake, and the resulting banter often becomes one of the most memorable parts of their trip. Travel is about more than destinations. It's about the little cultural quirks that make us laugh. These 10 funny things Americans always do when visiting the UK show that even small differences bring joy. In the end, laughter is the best travel memory anyone can take home. Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell.